Okay, so I'm just diving into the subtleties of individuality, the complexity, the ironies, the potential paradoxes, okay? I'm not here advocating some concept of individuality you think is individuality. For example, my love and perhaps obsession with individuality, which I could trace in my own psychology. And my mom was an artist, and I'd say, I like that song. She might say, are you just saying that because I just said that, like when I'm 5, or I'm writing and she's reading some of my writing, like, this is great, make sure you develop your own style, or write a little like this, or a little, where I got the idea I could have whatever style I wanted. And other people might end up going, he just copied so-and-so. But as long as I'm looking inside and expressing this individuality. So in the course of this, of course, I come in contact with rugged individualism. And as far as natural language goes, I'm a rugged individualist, but as far as it meaning a particular kind of thing and a particular kind of individualism and social Darwinist ideas, no. Okay. Because I always felt it was important to be polite. When I was young, I don't know, I must have been very young, I somehow came in contact with Kant's categorical imperative, and I'm noticing it's like the golden rule. It's kind of, I took it sort of as, what kind of person could survive in a society, and we should try to be that kind of person. But then my individuality kicked in, and I'm like, wait a second, what kind of person is somebody that is themselves, that lets other people be themselves? In other words, it's one of these things where we're all going to be different, right? So there's some interesting interplay then between these two. Because a lot of my individuality that I have thought is, how can we do this? It can't just be being contrarian. I mean, my tendency towards individuality has made me be a bit of a contrarian, a little bit of an ombudsman in groups. A group I started, a group I, whatever. And but I found young, you can't be a contrarian. You'll be as conformist as the conformist, except for that you'll be with the negative side, You'll be manipulated through reverse psychology. To truly find your individuality, you also have to find when you actually do agree with people. You can't try to find your individuality by just pretending you differ in every way, right? So this ends up relating back to, okay, how can we be individuals that we want to be that, say, can coexist with other individuals? That's part of my definition of individuality. It made a lot less sense in the past until I'd figured out this issue about how society and culture creates a platform for individuality, for individual freedoms, and for expressions of those, and indeed for appreciation with not the whole group, but other people within the group. For example, I appreciate when people do their own stuff. I like that they do their own art. It's not like, hey, that should have pleased me more. I'm glad like Coughlin just did a song. I thought it's great. A lot of philosopher types are sharing our art more and more. I give credit to Gary too, because he's like, hey, I paint, here's a painting, and stuff like that. He's not shy about that. Though in my case, it was more because Dasbu, sung a 3-hour musical, and I thought that took balls, and I enjoyed it. I thought, okay, let's just up the expression. We should put all these little things, less prejudgment of them and more just doing. But anyway, so my view of individuality is like, how can we express ourselves fully and be individuals, but within this constraint of the society that we individuals need to survive as such? You see, and there starts to be social responsibility built into individuality. Did you get that? These are things you need. I've come up with basically a skeptical epistemology. It's a way that people with all their weird views could communicate and cooperate. And that essentially means that there's a scientific aspect to this, right? Because the science uses these information that we have ways to transfer. That's the whole point of an experiment, is that the instructions are very detailed. I can do the same experiment. Right? I can repeat it. I can alter it if I think it needs to be altered, or I can do it just as, or all of the above, all the permutations. So, what I want to leave you with from this video is this connection. The society is a platform for individuality, and an informed individual does therefore have reason to figure out what is the optimums. What are the optimums here, right? And it does mean that we don't just embrace every individual thought. If we have a personal tragedy and we want to go destroy things, we reevaluate that within the ethics of our individuality. Expressing certain individuality might violate a bigger picture. It might violate the whole even possibility of being individual. If every individual thought that they could just take what they want in that kind of individuality, then the social structure would practically be bound to try to prohibit it. Right? To enable individuality to continue to evolve and develop, we have to make sure it is positive on the culture from which it is spawned. The culture is a real thing too. It has a real identity too, because it is a real system. And it is quite obvious that individuals require that because of procreation, at the very least. And I think it's clear that we require more than that we require social structures. Large organizations of humans are not very naturally well fit to our psychology. I believe we have that village psychology still. But we're abandoning it for various reasons, historical, unintentional, but also intentional, in order to achieve something else, to discover ourselves. And I think we're at a threshold, though, where the era of introspection and know thyself has to expand. That to understand ourselves as individuals, we have to understand where we come from, where we have to understand that we're part of the culture that other things come from. We have to understand that we are in that cycle, that as an individual we play a role in that cycle. And as an individual fully expressed, if such a thing were possible, we would do so consciously.